Welcome to the 18th episode of Generation Gap Book Reviews. I'm Kristi the mom.
And I'm Lena the daughter.
In this episode, we are going to be reviewing two different books. Later in the podcast, I will be reviewing the book Annabel Lee, which is a Christian suspense thriller novel by Mike Nappa. But first, we're going to start with Lena. And what will you be reviewing today, Lena?
I will be reviewing The Wrong Prom Date by Alexandra Moody.
Okay, and how did you come across this book?
I have no idea. I probably just like other
Off to a
books.
good start.
Just like other books, I just kind of run into them, or like, cause what?
Didn't you read this as an ebook?
Mhm.
How do you run into a digital book?
Cha. No, like.
I'm not a dad, but that's a good dad joke, don't you think?
Yeah. Oh goodness. I mean, everybody says dad
So,
jokes.
were you surfing around Goodreads or?
That or like looking up random. No, wait. I probably saw it on Instagram. I probably saw something
yeah, I
about it
forgot
on
you did that.
Instagram because not Bookstagram or whatever you want to call it. So that's probably where I found it because it's on there.
Okay. And what's
So,
it about?
So our main character Haley Lawson wants a date to prom. It's a high school rom-com kind of thing. And suddenly her longtime crush Owen Beck comes back to town from like some scholarship he was at. I don't know exactly. And then she's like, "Oh, maybe," and he's the popular dude, so she's like, but she's still like, "Oh, maybe he'll like me, and so maybe he'll ask me to go to prom with him." So like she wants to ask him out, and then Owen's twin Ethan swoops in to like save her from embarrassment when she's asking Owen, and then Ethan proposes a fake relationship to try to get Haley to try to get Owen to like Haley because Owen always wants what Ethan has or whatever. Did I say twin? I think I did.
Yeah, you said twin.
And Ethan has always had a crush on Haley. So in his mind, he's kind of thinking like maybe she'll end up liking me. But so he's trying to help her out basically.
Okay.
So
What did you like about the book?
I mean, the romance was really good, and I really enjoyed it. It was like a slow burn, so there was a lot of like, oh my goodness, kind of stuff. Um, and it was funny, and there were some cliches that I would have expected that didn't happen, which I was like surprised.
In a good way or a bad way?
In a good way, and some.
Because you were expecting it because you're just used to it, but it was nice that it got circumvented.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah. Um, I enjoyed the characters. As I said, it was funny in some ways. Some of the side characters, um, I enjoyed and how they acted. So.
Was this a very long book? Like,
No, not really. I mean, it was
does it say there usually it says how many pages?
268 pages.
Sorry, how many?
268.
Okay, so on the shorter side, which I think it was. Did we discover that it was self-published?
I'm pretty sure it's self-published. Yes.
Self-published books often break the norm for lengths, either shorter than average for their genre or longer than average for their genre, because there's no editor telling them they have to be a certain length. So
Yeah.
yeah. So is that all about what you liked?
No, there's.
Oh, okay. You seem like you were
Sorry,
done.
I was thinking through things.
Oh.
Ethan is a band leader, so like, so basically
Like in a rock band or like the school band?
a school band, I think.
And he's a leader in the school band?
He's like the singer and guitarist.
Okay. So you don't mean like marching band kind of thing?
No,
That's what I meant, like a band or like
no, him and his friends have a band.
Well, it's not really a school band then. It's more like the rock band kind of thing.
I guess.
I mean, in high school, you don't form a band and not have it be rock and roll. That's just not how it is.
I don't
There's
know,
no reason
Mom.
for that. No, I'm kidding about that, but I just meant like, playing the trombone, clarinet, or like a band.
A band.
Okay.
So like, Plus, he's classified in like the school as a nerd kind of thing. But
Nerds aren't in bands. Well,
but
that's not true. Hold
exactly,
on. Does he
it's
play the bass
no, he plays the guitar. Pretty sure.
and the lead singer?
Yeah.
How can he be classified as a nerd then?
I don't
That's not
know.
normal.
Because people, I guess maybe some people don't know he's in a band.
Dad was a geek, but he was the bass player in a band, so
Oh,
bass players can get away with being
but
geeks and nerds.
maybe it's because he has glasses.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. But all I know is that he was less popular than his twin. So like, yeah. So I don't completely love Taylor Swift, but there was a moment in this book
This is a second book review
with Taylor
podcast that
Swift.
you brought up Taylor Swift.
It's always the self-published books, the modern stuff.
Anyway,
But there
sorry.
was like a part in it that I really enjoyed that involved Taylor Swift. I can't go into it because it's a bit of a spoiler. So yeah. Um. mm, I think that's all. Well, plus Ethan was just really caring and thoughtful, so that's always nice.
It's
Yay.
always nice for your romantic male leads, I suppose, yes? Otherwise, you've got one of those romances that the guy's a jerk and yet she still falls for him, which those are always fun too.
That's a whole different. That's a whole different thing.
Anyway,
Anyway,
what did you not like about this book?
um,
I don't know what that means.
sir, what do you?
You didn't like
Yeah, he was really mean. Was very mean.
I'm surprised she didn't fall in love with him then.
I don't.
Anyway,
There were certain characters where there were certain times where I was just like, always that bit of miscommunication in a romance book where I'm just like, they would have they should have been a lot better than this. But I guess some high schoolers probably would go exactly like this. One bad thing happens, they hear one bad thing, and they just they're off the rails. They assume the worst now, kind of thing.
oh really? Are some high schoolers like that? Huh? Who would have thought?
Hey, what's that supposed to mean?
Nothing.
We're gonna have a talk. And then there were like certain characters, which obviously this kind of means that that's good writing. Where I was just like, I just want to be strangling that person. No offense to that character, but the character's fictional, so I can say that. Um, your face.
No offense to the character, but the character's fictional, so it's okay to strangle them.
It's okay to want to strangle them.
Well, I think it's okay to strangle them too,
Yeah.
because they don't exist. So
I'll just strangle the air and pretend I'm strangling them. That got really dark. I'm sorry.
it's pretty bright in here, actually. Not that they could tell or anything.
You're in
But...
such a mood today.
Anything else you didn't like about it?
No, I think that's all I can think about really.
What did you rate it?
5 stars.
Okay.
We're back on track. The last time I rated something, I rated 2 stars, so that's a jump up. Anyway, sorry.
And who do you recommend it to? Apparently not me, so.
Not you because you don't like. Well, you like romance, but it's gotta be like
I
Christian
generally prefer
romance.
not to read romance, A, contemporary romance, and B, romance that is just a romance and not also a thriller or a suspense or
Exactly.
a mystery or at least historical fiction, something else going on.
I think it's good for high schoolers. I mean, I read it at 14, so 13 and up is probably good. Because it's not completely clean. There's like a few curse words. The only issue were there were a few cuss words. That was really it. So it was good. Yeah.
Is that it?
I think so. I
Okay.
don't think I have anything else.
Because unlike last time where we both reviewed books that were in a similar genre at least, we are taking a pretty major turn
Yeah.
for this one. So the book that I'm reviewing it's called Annabel Lee, and yes, if you're wondering if you've heard of a poem by that name, it's a poem that was written by Edgar Allan Poe, and yes, that's on purpose because Edgar Allan Poe is referenced in this book, and this is actually the beginning of a series called Coffee and Hill, and all three of them have titles that are references to Edgar Allan Poe books or stories or poems. Like the second one is called The Raven, and the third one is called A Dream Within a Dream. I came across the series, because a friend of mine who has a kind of debilitating disease where she can't hold books. She can't really
Oh,
use her hands very much anymore. So she is a reader. So she reads her books on Kindle now, and so she gave me a lot of her books that she thought I might be interested in, because we've talked before about different books that we like, and she's recommended books to me in the past. So she gave me a box full of books, and the first two in this series were in that box.
gasp.
And actually, there's a lot of that of the books that she gave me that I have not read yet, but this one drew my interest, so I made sure to put it near the top of my list. So yeah, I've read the whole. It's a trilogy. I'm not sure it's the kind of trilogy where it was meant to be that he meant to stop at three. It's just he didn't write anymore, and it's been long enough now. He probably won't continue. This first book is about
Coffee and Hills.
no.
Oh man.
So the synopsis for this first book is an 11-year-old girl named Annabelle is hidden in an underground bunker by her uncle, and she's told not to open the door, even for him, not to open the door for anyone.
Oh, so it's not abuse. Okay.
It's not a what?
It's not abuse.
No, no, he hides her there, and he tells her not to open the door for anyone, including him, unless he gives her the secret passcode. And she doesn't know why she's there or how long she might be alone in the room with only a guard dog as company.
Aw, dog.
Yeah, she does have a dog with her. And then enter private investigators Trudy Coffee and Samuel Hill.
Oh.
It's not spelled like coffee either.
Oh,
It's
they don't. So he
Coffey.
doesn't probably like coffee then. But does she like hills? Or was it vice
Her
versa?
She's Trudy Coffee. He's
Oh,
Samuel Hill.
she probably doesn't like coffee then. Does he
I
like
think he
hills?
does drink coffee actually in the books, but
He
I don't know
does.
anything about
She
his
does.
like or dislikes for Hills. Anyway,
Anyway,
they are turned on to the hunt for something secret and hidden, and they never expect it to be a human being.
a child.
So the
Me.
interesting thing. Oh, sorry. You're supposed to ask me a
No.
question.
What do you like about this book? Sorry, that
This book drew me in from the beginning. Like I was intrigued from the beginning because it jumps right into
thrills.
what's going on with Annabelle being locked up and everything. And it was fast paced. It was suspenseful. It was intriguing. The characters were well developed. It was a thrill ride. I mean, I don't say that easily, but it was a thrill ride. The author had some interesting style choices in that the book is written from 3 points of view.
Whoa.
And
Oh.
so Trudy Coffee herself, she's basically she's the main character. She's one of the perspectives, one of the POVs is from hers, and that's third person past tense. Then there's this mysterious ex-special forces man named the Mute, or not named, called the Mute. He's just called the Mute. That's also a third person perspective. And then Annabelle Lee is the other perspective, and she's an 11-year-old girl locked up in this room, and hers is a third POV, and that is actually in first person present tense.
Oh. Well, that's different.
Yeah, it is. And I've read books before with what I feel like are odd POV changes where, I've read romances where it's first person from both sides. Or I've read just books where there's two POVs and one's first person present tense and the other one's third
Wait,
person past tense.
you think first person two people is weird?
I it's not that it's not necessarily weird, but in order to have it first person where you're actually in the mind of the character, the author has to do a really good job of having two completely different voices, because two different people are almost always going to have very different ways of talking and thinking. And most authors do not that do it like that do not do a great job of keeping their voices different.
I should have mentioned that the wrong prom date is that first person two POVs.
And you may not have noticed, not noticed. It may not have bothered you. You may not have felt like the author didn't do a great job of it being them not sounding exactly like each other. I usually am not frustrated. I'm just usually a little more nitpicky about that, I guess. But third person past tense and first person present tense in the same book is what's usually weird, because it's sort of jarring to go back and forth.
Yeah.
It didn't bother me in this book,
Oh.
which probably is because an author style can how well an author pulls it off. Like because some authors can pull it off
Mhm.
and others can't. And this Mike Nappa, I think he really pulled it off.
Mhm.
His writing actually reminded me. I remember being partway through this book and feeling like I was reading a Frank Peretti book. And considering that Frank Peretti is my favorite author, and I like his fast-paced suspense that he tend that
Mhm.
when he goes back and forth sometimes quickly between different POVs or
Yeah,
different
that's when
scenes and
you can
stuff.
tell when it's the
Yes,
climax.
yes. When things are really ramping up, that's when he goes back and forth quickly between different. And
Yeah.
I think there was some of that kind of in this too. But overall, it reminded me of Frank Peretti, Ted Dekker kind of thing. I'll say since I mentioned them, this is not exactly a Christian genre book. I haven't looked into Mike Nappa himself, but it seems to me that it's a book written by a Christian with a Christian worldview who's not trying to have a Christian message, but which is actually Frank Peretti. We he's a Christian author, and the books that he's most known for, like This Present Darkness, is clearly a Christian book. It's about spiritual warfare, but he's also written plenty of other books that aren't directly Christian, they don't have necessarily a Christian message, but the characters are Christians.
Mhm.
That's like what this is. Because Trudy Coffey had recently become a Christian at the beginning of this book.
Oh.
So she's filtering her life through this new lens, and that's kind of where the Christian angle comes in. Um, one of the things I particularly liked about this book is that there were two characters, and it's not Coffey and Hill, but there were two characters that formed a bond in this book that I really liked, and that's that kind of thing I particularly enjoy. Um, about Coffey and Hill, they actually are ex-husband and ex-wife.
Oh, that's gotta be awkward.
They were divorced a year or two before the book started for a very legitimate reason on her part. That comes out in this book, and quite
Ooh.
frankly, I mean, like I said, it's a legitimate reason, so you can't really blame her for it. But this book gives her in this book she's forced into working with him because they actually used to be a private investigator team when they were married.
Mhm.
They worked together, and then things happened and they got divorced, and now she's basically running their business herself. But because he's involved in the situation that comes up with Annabelle Lee and everything, they're sort of forced to work together again. And
Hmm.
by the end of the book, it seemed like it was sort of leading toward a possible reconciliation between them, sort of very vaguely. And I remember thinking, I mean, okay if they do, okay if they don't. Either way,
Don't spoil anything. It's.
I'm not spoiling
Oh
anything.
no, I'm joking. What did you dislike about the book?
The only thing, as far the story I loved, the characters I really liked, there was only one detraction I had, and that was that the book, especially around the climax, the book gets really brutal and gory. Like I've read a good amount of, not a ton, but a decent amount of action books and things where there's violence. This was very gory,
Ooh.
bloody, just a little much for me. Outside of that, though, it was a great book. I rated it 4.5 stars, and the half star was only because of how bloody and gory it was, because it came out of nowhere. It wasn't that tone of a book before that, so I wasn't expecting it, and like I said, it was a bit much for me. But I still recommend this book heavily, highly. I mean, I even recommended it to you, and even with the bloody and gory. So, um,
I may have to read it soon.
I think everyone who enjoys suspense and thriller novels, especially with like a Christian leaning, but it's not outright Christian and it's not preachy. I think this is a book that is probably really underrated because I've never heard of Mike Nappa or this series, and it seems like it's kind of a small, like it's not really well known, but I really liked it and would recommend it. So I've read the whole 3 book series, and I'm not going to say anything about the rest of the series, but I am at least going to say that I am already planning to reread this series at some point. I don't own the third one. I own 1 and 2, and the third one was actually I think I had to get it from the library, which I only reread books that I really really like, because otherwise I wouldn't want to reread. I wouldn't want to take the time to read them again, and I definitely want to reread this series.
Woo.
And who knows? Maybe when you read it, I'll read it again. Although that depends on how soon you read it. But
We'll see.
I think that's it for both of our books, right?
Yeah.
So go.
Join us next time when we are going to be reviewing The City of Ember by Jean DePro.
Nope.
No?
Book of Ember. I'm kidding.
What?
Until next time, I'm Kristi,
And I'm Lena.
and this is Generation
Generation
Gap
Gap
Book
Book
Reviews.
Reviews.